we did one of these seminars 40, 50 minutes ago for all the PC people, and now we're repeating it for the Apple people with the adjustment needed because of the two different systems. And I must say you're a smarter lot than the last lot, but don't quote me. I can just tell by the way you connected so easily. Maybe it's the Apple operating system, I'm not sure. But good afternoon, everybody, and I hope you enjoy the little time we have together. We're going to talk about the sort of more advanced part of what we talked about last week. May I remind you that if you want to see the notes, or you'd like to download the notes, or you'd like to re-watch this video, they'll be available on avpals.com, and you'll be able to, I'll show you at the end where you can find the link for those of you that are struggling to find the notes. It's a lot of stuff on our website. So here we go. I'm going to start this little presentation, and hopefully at the end of the time you'll be a little bit closer to what we're talking about. So this is week 2 of scanning photos from your photo album and putting it into the cloud eventually. Just to recap what we talked about last week, we learned about scanning photos by using your MacBook or whatever device you have, and perhaps you can actually do it with an iPad, although it's a little bit awkward. And we remember that we use the image capture option built into the Apple operating system to scan the photos. So we simply selected a couple of photos, or 4 photos or 6 photos. And I know some people since last week have done this and put many more photos on the glass platen so that they all just fit. Once they worked out how to cut them easily into separate photos. So we chose the photos, and having done that, we then rotated them and cut them into little individual photos. If you're not sure how we did it, I recommend that you go back to last week's notes, which I shall show you at the end again, and work out again how I showed you how to turn the photos around and how you could enhance them. And previews the option in the Mac system that we use to do that. Did you remember to clean the glass on the plate of the scanner? Very important. 1800 photos I did, and it's not a good look when you look at the end and you think, what's that smudge doing in the corner? Did you remember to return the photos that you took out of the album back to the album? Very significant thing to do, particularly if you borrowed this album from a family member. It's nice to give it back in the way you got it, rather than sticking them all in a big envelope. You may never look at these photos again. I agree, there is something about holding a photo in your hand that's not quite as good as seeing it on the screen. But I went through one of my slide presentations the other day that I'd done for my family and watched it on my television, big screen, and it looked absolutely fabulous. So I'm sure you'll be looking forward to doing that. Did you remember where you saved the edited photos? Knowing your way around your MacBook is absolutely essential. It's no good. You probably use your MacBook and think to yourself, well, it's just a device, so I can watch a video, I watch my Netflix, or I can send an email. But actually underlying that is the whole business of Finder, how you move around the computer. So when you save these photos, it's very important that you work out where you save them, because when you're going to use them later on, if you can't find them, it'll be a bit of a struggle. The question is, do you have a copy of Microsoft PowerPoint from 2010 on? I'm recommending you do it this way, although there's nothing to stop you putting the finished results just into a folder in iCloud or in OneDrive or in Google Drive or in Dropbox or whatever else you want to use. But it's really nice to put them into a presentation software like PowerPoint, because you can organize the photos in the order in which you want them. Otherwise, people are going to be looking at them all over the place based upon the date they were scanned, or perhaps in alphabetical order or something. If you put them into PowerPoint, you can move the photos around easily and put them in the order you want them to, plus a lot more stuff. Microsoft 365 is a really good option. For those of you that don't subscribe, don't have a licensed copy of PowerPoint, Microsoft 365, which I've just recently come to. I see the point of it now. So if you're $10 a month or thereabouts, a little bit less actually, you get the latest version of PowerPoint, of Word, of Excel, and of Publisher and all the other options. And best of all, you get a terabyte, 1 terabyte, that's 1,000 gigabytes of storage in OneDrive included in the price. And if you add up the cost of paying extra money to Apple for iCloud, it becomes quite a benefit. I thoroughly recommend Microsoft 365 for the Mac, and I'm actually using it myself today. I'm asking you, do you have a OneDrive, Google Drive, or an iCloud extended account? iCloud don't give you very much storage. One of the people in the course prior to this one had run out of space on iCloud, and 5 gigabytes doesn't go very far when you take a few photos. So therefore, Apple wants you to pay your $3 odd a month extra to get a little bit more storage space. The same thing applies with OneDrive and Google Drive, but you seem to me to get rather better value with them. And just because you're using a Mac doesn't mean to say you can't use a Microsoft product. Do you need to pay Apple for an extension to your iCloud? Yes, you do. Most people tend to do that eventually. And I was working it out the other day. I think I pay them, I'm maybe not quite sure of the figure. Mark will know the figure, I know he will. It's about $2.50 a month. Doesn't sound much, but multiply that up by maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 million people. It's a lot of money, and no doubt Apple are very thrilled with it. Do you remember your passwords? Pretty significant. If you're going to have a OneDrive account or an iCloud account, you will need to know what your password is. Good place to start. Write it down on a piece of paper. I shouldn't tell you to do that, and I didn't, but really, it's not a bad idea. Put it down somewhere. Particularly as we get a little bit older, sometimes we forget, and maybe the people following you might like to know what the password is. Okay, let's move on to the final step. Oh, I better mention to you, PowerPoint 2016 for the Mac has a weakness, in my opinion. There's no option to create an automatic photo book. This is a well-known weakness of the PowerPoint for Mac. The people who have PCs have a wonderful option built in, which simply means you say to PowerPoint, create this album for me, and it does it. But unfortunately, not for Mac, not even the latest version. I'm not sure of the technical reason for it, but that's the way it is. You can easily overcome this with some routine tasks, however. And unless you've got hundreds and hundreds of photos you want to do in one presentation, which I wouldn't do, I reckon 50 is about enough, then doing it manually is not too bad. Make sure your MacBook is up to date. Are you running the latest operating system? If you're not sure about whether you are or not, have a little bit of a look around, ask Mr. Google whether you're running the latest version and how to check. Are you really familiar with using Finder, which will let you move around the computer? Don't forget, my advice is to create a folder in which to store all of those images that you've now chopped up and cut up, so that you know where they are, all together, separated from the original ones which had 5 or 6 photos in it. Having a separate folder for these will make the whole operation much easier. Don't forget to clean that glass. I'm very conscious of that. And here are the steps to seeing how we're going to do that. Step 1, adding the photos to PowerPoint. As I mentioned a little earlier, you really don't have to use PowerPoint. If you're happy with just sticking the photos into a folder on your computer in a cloud service like iCloud and telling people where they are, they can view them perfectly comfortably. But it just lacks the pizzazz of having PowerPoint where you can really show the photos with quite a lot of style. So you open up PowerPoint, keeping in mind also for those of you that don't have PowerPoint at all and don't want to pay for a copy, you can use PowerPoint on the web, which is free, provided by Microsoft for free. It's pretty restricted, but it does work. You create a new blank slide. in your new presentation. I'm going to step through this again, so don't feel like you're going to miss out on this. And you click on the menu, Insert Picture from File. And when you've chosen Insert Picture from File, an option is given to you to choose the photo that you want to include in your PowerPoint show. You will need to navigate to that folder that you created earlier with all those edited photos. And you will click on the photo that you want. And follow your nose after that, because it will say Insert, and that's obviously what you do. And you'll end up with one slide which will have that single photo. I'm going to show you how in a minute. So you've chosen Insert. I suggest, in my opinion, this is the best approach, is you right click after you've inserted the photo and choose the option from the menu, Size and Position, and select the option that says Best Scale for Slideshow. That means you end up with the whole of the slide filled with that picture. You don't end up with a puny little picture sitting on the screen in one corner. That way works really well. It took me a little while to work that one out, but it's worth doing. And there's the little picture of that child that we scanned last week, and we put it into a slide. You might need to move the picture to the center of, I say the center of the screen, I really mean the center of the slide. You might need to move it just to get it central, otherwise it might be off to the side. I must say the people with PCs have a distinct advantage here because it does this sort of stuff for them, but there's no reason why you can't do it. So here's the process. I'm going to step through it now. This little video will show you. And here's a picture of the desktop. And you'll see I'm opening up PowerPoint there. I'm going up to select a blank presentation, and there it is. I'm then going to click on the option that says New Slide and choose a blank slide. I'm then going to go, after I've selected the blank slide, up to Insert and choose Pictures, Photo Browser, and look for the photos that you've already scanned. There's one, I'm dropping it into the middle of the screen, and it's done. So having done one, you might then want to move on to another one. So I've selected New Slide again. I've selected Insert, Pictures, Photo Browser, find the next photo, select it, drop it on the screen, and there is another photo. And so on, so that you end up with as many photos in your presentation as you want. So we've now got, I've just done a few here just to sort of show you how to do it. I want to go back and look at this video again when you want to on the web. When you've got all the photos together, you can change the background. What I do is select all the photos at one go and choose Format Background, so as to choose a better color than white, which is pretty ordinary. So I'm going to choose black, which looks best in my opinion, and gives you this lovely black look. So the photos stand out nice and brightly. You've now created the show, but there's nothing to stop you now moving those photos around. And to do so, you simply point your mouse at one of the pictures and slide them up and down until you get them into the order that you want them to be. You can do that as often as you like. You'll notice the very first slide is shown as black. And there's a great opportunity to type in there a title slide. What I would do is open up that slide by clicking it and selecting the option to insert a text box. Draw the box as big as you want to, and then type the text. Catch is, it'll be black text on a black background, which isn't that good. So you'll want to change the color of the text to probably white. And it sounds tricky, perhaps, but once you've done it the first 2 or 3 times, it'll be very easy. I would recommend no more than about 50 photos in a single presentation, because I think people get bored with it after that. So you continue by adding each photo, and when you've finished, you select all the photos by clicking on the first photo. This is just reiterating what I talked about before. Clicking on the first photo on the left pane, and hold down the Command key on your keyboard and press the letter A. who knows what the letter A does? I see a lot of blankness around. It, of course, means the letter all. So Command A means select all the photos in one go. And when you've done that, you'll choose this option to format the background. Otherwise, you're going to have to click on each slide individually to format the background. So you'll want to do them all in one go. Black background certainly does look best. And you need to save that show. If you're using Windows 365, which I'm commending to you because I think for the $10 price and the fact you get a terabyte of storage is a great way to do it, it will have automatically saved the show for you without you having to think about anything at all because it saves as it's going along. But if you didn't, a folder, put this finished version presentation into an iCloud folder. I would suggest you practice a little bit with this. And if you run out of space in iCloud, remember you can pay Apple the extra $2.49 per month to get another 45 gigs. You could add a text box to each slide. This is not a bad way to do it. So when you've created a slide, you could put a little box along the bottom. It's called a text box. You'll see it up there on the insert text box option, and type in a heading that you could put on each slide. This is so that people who are viewing this from some distant place will know what's going on. So here it says, Bob and Peter in the garden of the house in Dubbo. I just typed that in. Actually happens to be a picture of my grandson and my son-in-law, and they don't live in Dubbo, but nevertheless. So there's a good way of making the slide presentation very effective, very visually attractive. But of course, you also could use the notes option, which is the preferred way by PowerPoint. And the notes option is a terrific way to do it. If you select View up on the menu bar and then Notes page, you'll end up with a screen which will show you how you can add any amount of notes to a page. You could write 10,000 words if you want to about the particular subject. It looks like that page you can see there where I've typed some text in that box at the bottom. You could put as much in there as you wanted to. And getting it right is going to be useful for the future. Not when people look at the show, but if they happen to have a copy of the whole file, they'll be able to read those notes. They're only visible when your family download the entire PowerPoint file, not when they're looking at on the web. So others can add their own notes to the slide if they want to, if you allow them to. You might, when you're putting them on the cloud, you're given an option to be able to let people share and edit as well, but that's entirely up to you. And those notes will be available to those that have access to your cloud storage. All about that in another seminar to come, but for the moment, that's all I'm going to talk about. So the slideshow you're going to see next was made by me just to show you how this works. I did a whole lot of scanning, and I chose the photos from the 1920s to the 1930s, before my time, I should tell you, thank you. And I put all these photos into a folder called 1920s to 1930s, and I created a show called 1920s to 1930s. They're clearly black and white photos. And there's a wonderful option in PowerPoint that lets you change all the photos if some of them are looking a bit scrappy or are poorly cut, may have been colored by somebody, that will convert them all to grayscale, and it makes the photos look absolutely terrific. Have a look when you're next playing with PowerPoint, you'll see the option I'm talking about. I added a title slide and I chose a background for just that one slide, just so that it looked a bit schmicko, and I think you'll see the result is pretty good. I also added text to each of the slides, the notes part that I talked about earlier. So here's an example of what I put: George Jackson on the left, Peggy Jackson, my mother is in the white room. This, by the way, is all made up. It's just good stuff, because if you're into family history, this is a great way of sharing the information that you know. So here's the final result. You're now watching the video just as it happened. I'm not touching any keys at all, and it's sliding through the little video, and at the end will show you those scanned photos. And when you've done them all, it stops just like it has, and 4 photos is hardly worth doing, but if you're doing a lot, and you'll find this is a very worthwhile thing to do. I did all 1,800 of them, and I'm proud of the result. It is very worthwhile doing. Now, there's some other options you can get interested in. The black and white I mentioned is really good. If the pictures are poorly colored or faded badly, you select the option to do it in black and white. It's called grayscale, and the photos will turn out really well. You can edit that title slide, put any text on it you want to, put any background you want to. Frankly, I think the simpler the better. You can edit the template, that is the whole show, to make it more interesting. If you wanted to, you could put in different colors. In my case, I put timing in as well, so that the slides change over every 5 seconds, so that people don't have to keep touching their mouse or their space bar to change slides. Timing is good fun. I also use the option to create a fade-in effect from one slide to the next, so that it just looks a little bit more professional. So now we're down to the final steps. And those final steps are from now. I've just run through it first. We're going to have to put them in the cloud. In this case, we're going to use iCloud. We're going to create a folder in the iCloud section of your Finder. We're going to give it a new folder name. Now, there are many ways you can do this. I'm going to let you work that out for yourself. You can create a folder by clicking on the option up on the menu bar, by right-clicking in there, all sorts of ways, and give it a meaningful name. And then you're going to make sure that the photos, the PowerPoint slides, are saved as a show. Now, the default using PowerPoint is to save it as PPTX file. And I'm suggesting it looks so much better if you save it as a PPSX. How do you do that? You click on File, Save As, and choose the option to save it as a show. Read these notes again if you're not sure. Make sure you've saved the resulting file, show in a iCloud folder, and sit back and wait whilst it puts all of those that PowerPoint show into the cloud. It can take a while. The upload speed on your computer at home might be a bit slow. It certainly is for me, because I still struggle with ADSL connections. But for those of you with NBN, you'll find it's very much quicker, because the upload speed is so much higher. When you've done it, you'll want to right-click, in my opinion, there are many other ways to do it, on the show, and select the option that says share. You can see it in the picture I've shown you on the right-hand side there, and I've circled the word share. That's where you'll be able to choose the option to share that slideshow by mail or by text to family or friends. Uploading the cloud to the OneDrive situation is very much the same. Install the OneDrive application on your MacBook. I've done exactly that. It's very simple to do. I would suggest you simply, there's lots of ways to do it. You can do it straight out of the App Store. Make sure the PowerPoint slides are saved as a show. I mentioned that earlier. You don't have to do that, but the net result is really terrific. And of course, you're going to make sure that those files that you save, that file that you saved, is saved into a OneDrive folder. It's not appropriate for me now to talk to you about how you might do that, because we'll be here for another 40 minutes and we've all lots of life to live. But it isn't that difficult. Just have a play with it for a little while. Remember, your OneDrive account, if you've got a Microsoft account, is the first, I think it's 15 gigs is free. So in Finder, you find the file, you right-click the file, you select share, just as we did with the iCloud example, and there are 2 share options. You want the one that's the first one from the top. The 2 words share, I noticed there, you want the one at the top of the list. That's what it looks like. You can see it there on the screen. I've circled it with red. Copy link. And copying the link simply copies the address that's in the cloud so that you can then stick it into an email or into a text. And it's one click on that copy link and it's saved into the computer's memory. And then you can open up your email account, type the email you want to somebody, and paste the link in there. There are a couple of simple ways to do that, but for most people, you go up to the menu bar and select the option to paste. Copy the link and paste it. You can also use Google Drive. Same sort of thing. You need a Google account, for example, Gmail, even if you never use Gmail. You need to install the app on your MacBook from Google. It's free, the app, and it does exactly as OneDrive would do. And you can share the links to family and friends. Google Drive gives you 15 gigs for free, and it's made by Google, so therefore you feel pretty comfortable it's not going to go away in a hurry. After you've done all this, I still think it's worthwhile getting hold of a flash drive. I've got one here in my hand, and put a copy on there as well, because nothing beats the physical thing, and it's great to throw it in the drawer right on the outside or put it in an envelope. In my case, I've actually got an envelope sitting here now with it in there, so that if I turn up my toes, the family will have a copy of all these photos in there for sure. Final step, step 3. There is no step 3. See guys, it's very easy. All you need to do is to step through this slowly, scan the photos, get used to it. If it takes you a week to get the first few photos ready, well, that's the way it is. Just take it easy, relax, and step along. And by all means, feel free to email me. Best email address to use for me is info@avpals.com, and I'm very happy to answer any questions. And of course, a reminder that all these notes are available on our website, and the video of today's little presentation will be there from Friday. Thank you all so much for viewing this. I'm now going to open it up to questions, and I look forward to hearing your question. If you're going to ask a question, just please raise your hand like that. It'll do just nicely. Who'd like to ask a question?
Thanks. Thanks, Paul. Oh. No. I've got my hand up.
Okay, Jeff, you're away. 2 hands, yes?
You referred all the time to PowerPoint. The Mac equivalent is called Keynote. Is that at all useful or not?
Sure. In fact, you don't have to use either of them, really. You can just do whatever you prefer. Anything that will produce a slide. There are a couple of other freeware things you can use as well that are available. I like PowerPoint because it's so tried and true. It's been around for a very long time and has that wonderful option of being able to slide the photos into the order in which you want them. And so as a person who's used PowerPoint for a long while, I really enjoy PowerPoint amongst all others. And remember, you don't actually have to buy it. You can use PowerPoint in a web browser. If you put into your web browser, into Safari, PowerPoint online, you'll end up with a copy of PowerPoint that you're looking at on the screen. It's not as good as owning it, but it's pretty good.
Thank you.
More questions, anybody?
Yeah, I missed last week. I stuffed up all along, so I feel very proud that I got in today. So that's a good thing. So everything that you told last week is online.
That's right. And I'm going to show you now how you might find it. That seems to me like a good idea. So I'm going to, if I can work this out. Yes, here we go. On the screen now, you should see a web browser. And I'm showing you, you're visiting avpals.com. So you simply go to avpals.com, and there's a menu bar. It says home, where we train, newsletters, tuition at Avalon, revisit an Avpals seminar. So I'm going to click on that. And one of the options there is photos to the cloud. That's what we're doing here.
Okay.
So in there, I'll just show you around. You're looking at the options there. It says week 1, notes for this seminar, download here by clicking that link, or if you wish to, you can simply view the notes online. There they are right there. It says scan album photos week 1, and you can slide through them yourself just by changing the little slide options there. You'll see, you'll work it out, I'm sure. There you are. So you're looking now at the notes from last week.
Thank you.
And also the video from last week. That is the show that we showed is there as well. And the one for this week will be on by Friday. The notes are already there if you care to look at them after the show.
Thanks. Right.
Any other? Yes, certainly. Yes, go ahead, Cherie.
Paul, I'm totally lost on this lesson, which I'm really disgusted with myself about, but I know I can follow it again. I'll go and watch the video again.
Yep.
Last week, because I always learn so much with the Q&A afterwards, and last week you said you don't put that on the video because of people's privacy, which I fully understand, but could you do it not with the photos of the people up and just listen to the questions?
You're going to, that's what we're going to do this week. If you look up at the top left-hand corner of your screen, you'll see the word recording is still on.
Yeah.
We were concerned about the privacy thing,
Yeah,
but we thought to ourselves, well, look, you know, we're not doing anything here, which is all of a worry. And frankly, the Q&A session is often the best part of it. So yes, that was a very good suggestion you made, Cherie.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the seminar. It's been fabulous.
Good.
Even though I didn't understand half of it.
I'm not surprised. There's way too much. I was talking to Jim about this a little earlier. There's way too much, and we are going to change the format probably in coming weeks because we think, A, we don't have enough time, and B, we might spread it out over a few more weeks because really it's just too much stuff to cover in one session. But anyway, that's what we've done so far, so I hope you've enjoyed that part. Any other questions, folks? Yes, yes, Mark.
Yeah, not a question, but some suggestions. I've been putting things on, well, scanning photos for most of my married life, I think. And I'm really getting near the end. But I wish I had discovered a gadget that was publicised to me on the net, and now my son's got one, an Epson FF680W scanner. It can scan photos at around about 1 a second because it's a roll-through scanner, right? And I've read people's reviews of this, and my son was telling me that he had all these photos from his mother-in-law that he carried around from house to house, kept telling her he was going to do it, and he's done them now. You know, in fact, it's so good that you'll wonder what to do with it after you've got it. But there's $699, and I've read reviews on this, and people are just amazed that it can do it. You just have to make sure you keep it clean from pushing dust through, and you have to have photos that aren't sticky or something like they've come from those albums that were sticky. You stuck the photos on, but that's one thing. The other thing is like the idea of writing the dates backwards at the start of the file name. And so you put year, month, and day. And if you don't know exactly, you can put a little C, like, you know, 1935 and a little C in it that you just made a rough guess. And then the file systems will sort them in order then. Whereas if you put the date normal ways, it won't go the right way. So just put the dates back to front. And one other thing, Google Photos. Put another set of your photos in Google Photos. Not Google Drive, in Google Photos. Just another set. So you've got an extra set if you need to, and it's got free storage for as many as you like if you allow them to compress them a little bit. You won't really notice the difference, but you'll be able to put all your photos in there, and it has face recognition. So therefore, you can, if you start naming people, it'll ask you, is this the same person? And then you can look through a list of, you can see all the photos by that person, with that person in it, from when they were little to when they were older. It can also do other recognition, like if you've got a dog. If you typed in dog, it'll show you all the dog pictures. You type in beach, it'll show you all the beach pictures with no work on your part at all. So it's pretty good. And you just put, if you just throw them all in as is, it'll work. If you want to put each one into folders, then you can sort into folders. But just doing that, and lo and behold, the other day I looked on my Telstra account, and they said, "Oh, you got 50,000 points, 50,000 points for putting up with them all this time and getting ripped off, I suppose. 50,000 points." And I saw that I could get a Google Home Hub, you know, the little ones that connect to Google. Anybody got one of them?
Mm.
I've also got one without but this one's got a screen on it. So for 40,000 points, I got a little screen, and it will connect to Google Photos, and it changes the photo about every 5 seconds. And you could select which ones you want, like just pictures of the people in my family. You pick out their names and it'll just show you them. That's what I've been doing lately. And so you got a little thing that's got the weather and the time at the bottom, and it shows you all your photo connection one at a time, just does it itself. So that was a magic little thing.
Yeah, that's
anyway,
good.
That's something from me.
Thanks, Mark. Folks, for those of you that don't know, Mark is part of our, he belongs to the organisation called ASCA, ASCCA, Australian Seniors Computer Clubs something. What is it, Mark? I think it'd be turned off. Anyway, it's our umbrella organisation. He's just popped in to have a look and see how we do this. And all his suggestions are perfectly good. I have a daughter who lives in the country, and she said to me earlier this week, "Dad, have you got any baby photos of me?" So I use Google Photos to type in, her first name is Sarah, and I typed in Sarah and space and the word baby, and it showed me the 300 photos I have of her as a baby, and I've sent them off to her electronically so that she could use them. Any other questions? No, we're done. All very, very much. How's that? That okay? Yes. Thank you all very much for joining us today. Don't forget, you can see all those notes at avpals.com. One more question from Susan.
I was thanking you.
That's great. Thank you, Susan. That's very nice of you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Look forward to seeing you at a future seminar. We've got some fantastic ones coming up. Saskia's doing a few more like the one she did a couple of weeks ago. We've also got a really good one coming up on genealogy, which I know you'll enjoy. So thank you all again, and I look forward to seeing you, and when next we're in Zoom. Bye for now.